Hi guys, Rachel with Spunky Misfit Girl here, and I am so excited about this project because look at how beautiful it is. We are going to make a full journal in this video today, so it might be a little bit longer, but I love this style of journal, and I have to give props to Natasha over at Treasure Books for this idea because it is so smooth and slick. It's really pretty quick, and the results are just super professional and beautiful. I will show you, try to show you here the what it looks like from the top. So this is a 3 signature journal. My pages are 8.5 by 11, so I didn't have to do a ton of cutting on most of my pages. You know, some of them I did. And then it's got this beautiful fabric spine. And this one that I used here was just the Stamperia Alice fabric that I've had kind of laying around. I don't usually use fabric in my journals, and so I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. And now I have to find a way to get cheap, cool fabric. So hopefully I can go back to Japan and buy a whole bunch of old kimono fabric that will make beautiful junk journal spines. And then it's got a cardboard cover, which I used a kind of a lightweight cardboard that I have laying around that's just been saved from like buying paper and stuff. And so I'm going to be looking for where I can get more of that. I don't know if I can use book covers for this style as easily, but we'll see. There will be some experiments in the future. So this beautiful flexi spine, the book lays totally flat because of it. No creaky bits from the glue like I have in some of my other hardcovers. It's just wonderful. I just love this. It has a very professional look and feel. And I'm just super excited to make another one of these with you guys in this video. So the first thing that we're going to do on this is put our signatures together. Okay, so I didn't really figure that you would be into me just, you know, having my mess of papers on camera. So I put mine together. So this is just the first step for what you're going to want to do. So I would recommend with this, like, it just makes it super easy and fast. If you're in the US and you're using 8.5 by 11, just use that as the size for your papers. For the majority of your papers, you know, you can see I have some other smaller things in here. Like this was in my scrap pile. I used some vellum that was 8.5 by 11. I have some music sheets that I had to cut down, some book pages that were big that I had to cut down, some invoices, you know, all that kind of stuff. And you just have to decide, how many signatures do you want? I'm doing 3. You could do 5. You could be crazy and do 4. I have a feeling that there's some reasoning behind the uneven number of signatures that probably goes back to the history of making books, which if you know what the answer to that is, I would love to hear about it. I'm a book geek and I love the history of book making too. You know, sometimes I will cut down, you know, if I get really raggedy edges that are sort of extra over the top. But realistically, you're going to cut your cover to size so that it goes slightly over those pages if that's what you want, if that's the look that you want. And so it really doesn't matter. And you can kind of see that I left it with some extra sort of over the top, some of those signatures in this one too, and it looks beautiful. So that's going to be our first step, is to decide how many you want, put your signatures together with all your papers, and I have that done. Once you have those ready, you're going to need to think a little bit. You're going to need to kind of have a plan for what you're going to do for your journal. So you are going to want cover pages. So I kind of used these craft papers as covers, but I'm also going to add a decorative paper as covers, and that's going to be our next step. So like in here, I chose Alice because I decided I was gonna theme this as Alice. So if you're gonna have a theme for your journal, or you have a paper in mind for your cover that you want to use for your cover, and then maybe you want to match it for your pages inside, your cover papers inside, just think about that. And I'm gonna I haven't done that yet, so I will come back and that will be the next step of the videos. We'll add some cover papers to these guys. Okay, so I've decided that I'm gonna use these stunning French blue papers from Puma Marketing that I've had sitting around. I haven't done anything with them since I've made some things out of them, and they're so pretty. So I'm gonna use these on the cover. So I decided to make my interior cover pages out of them as well. Okay, so what I've done is I've cut one that's the same height as my pages, and just about a 1/4 inch larger widthwise, and folded it in half. And so I'm just using that one to cut my others as well. So I'm gonna cut one more out of this guy, and I'm just deciding, I'm not sure I want to decapitate the lady again. But I don't know, do I want to cut it down the middle? I guess I kind of do, because we'll cut here where there's a natural thing at the bottom. I'm gonna cut here and here and here, and kind of cannibalizes my whole piece of paper, but it's for a good cause. I promise you, this is going to be just a really, really fun project. And I do love these papers. They are so beautiful. So you want your side that you want to show to go to the inside of your fold. Okay, so that outside, this would be a great use for single-sided papers, because that other side is not going to show at all, this outside. So same here, this guy goes on the outside, and then this guy goes on the outside, because we want our pretty sides to show. Okay, so I'm just going to decide what order I want these guys in. I've got my signatures here, and I don't think those matter. So one of these is going to be in the middle of the book, and the other two are going to be your end paper. So I think I'm going to do this as my front end paper. I'm just going to make sure that I have everything right side up, at least in here. So that guy is going to go there like that, and that's going to be my first signature. And then this guy's going in the middle, so we're right side up with this guy here. And then this guy goes in here, and that will become our end paper in there. Okay, so my 3 signatures look like this. They're ready to go. And now the thing to do is to put together each signature. And I am just going to pamphlet stitch these. With a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And it's really nice with this. You could do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch if you want a little more security, but I actually think you really don't need it. This is, I don't know, this just feels so professional, and I don't want to complicate it for myself. So I've got a piece of beeswax thread here that is 3 times the height of my signature. And I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna thread my needle. I'm just gonna do one of these because I've done this a billion times on camera. So if you're new and you need to watch it a couple of times, you can feel free to do that, but I don't think generally most people, most of you all have probably done this before. So I'm just gonna clip here and clip here and give myself 3 holes, one in the middle with my pokey tool and one about 1/2 inch from the bottom and one about 1/2 inch from the top. Now, there's an important difference here from how we usually do this. If you've done this with me a million times before, we are actually going to, normally we start from the inside and go out. We are going to start from the outside and go in. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna give us our knot on the outside, which we want for this style of journal, which will be wonderful because you'll hide your knot. You won't have your ends on the inside and it looks really nice. And that's one of the things I love. So once you're out through the inside, through the middle, then you're gonna go out through the top, down to the bottom, and back in through that bottom hole. And it's gonna be a little cranky with me, so I'm just gonna punch it a couple more times, make it open up. There we go. And then you're gonna go out through the middle and finish off on that outside instead of the inside, which is just, I just really love this. Why don't you wanna come through here, mister? There we go. Little sticky thread not cooperating. So I'm still gonna go thread one to the outside here so that I've got my threads around my middle thread, and then I'm gonna tie 2 little knots. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this a little shorter than I might normally. And I am going to give it just a little bit of some kind of tape. If you have just regular masking tape, that works. Otherwise, washi tape. I have way more washi tape than I will ever use. So I will just grab a little golden washi tape here. This is not going to be seen, so it really doesn't matter what it looks like. And we're just going to tape down this little bit of our ending thread right here on both sides. Okay? And we are going to do that for all 3 or 5, if you have them, signatures of this journal. And then once I come back, we will move on to the next step. Okay, I'm back, and we've got all 3 signatures all set and ready to go. Pamphlet stitched outside with our knot, and those are all taped up, so they are ready to now be glued together, which is the next step. Okay, so I've got them in the order I want them. So this is going to be the first signature. I'm going to take 2 and 3, and what I'm going to do is glue, but I'm going to leave probably about half an inch, 3/4 of an inch or so on this edge of the spine so that we get this nice, you know, flexibility once we put it together with the spine. So I'm gonna go on here and give it probably about yay much. And then I'm gonna go to my edges everywhere else and give it a nice good coat everywhere inside of that. Okay, and then I'm going to put these two together and just make sure that I'm able to get them lined up. Now I'm using Fabri-Tac for this, so what's nice about that is you have a lot of time to kind of move things around and make sure everything is where you want it. I'm just double checking on both sides that I'm exactly right, so you won't be able to see that there's any seam there at all. And that's it. I'm just gonna do the same exact thing with this one, leaving a space there and gluing to the edge everywhere else, and nice coverage inside of there. And then signature 1 is going to come and line up here as well. Just double checking. Both sides look good. And that's my book block. All 3 signatures put together, ready to go. If you're doing 5, same idea for the whole thing. Super easy. Okay, and then the next thing to do is to put our spine on. Now I don't really have a lot of fabric. I'm not used to using fabric much in my journals. And so I ultimately decided that for this one, I was gonna use some muslin. So this is just muslin that I have rubber stamped a little bit to give it some character. And I backed it with a book page, but this is an old rag paper book page. It's from an old French book. And so it's actually a little thicker and more cloth-like. And so it makes a great backing for a fabric like this. I actually did the same thing with this one. Because this was a very thin fabric, so I backed it with that paper and it worked out really well. So I've got this cut to size. So it's cut exactly to my height where I want it. And basically when I was trying to figure out how to cut it, I just kind of put it, I think this is about where I want it to end up. And I wrapped it around, and I want to leave just a little bit of space back here. A little bit of room, so you can kind of see how I figured out how wide to cut it. I'm just kind of lining these up on the back and the front with that space in there. And that shows you there on my finished one kind of how that looks too. So with my spine now, I'm going to do a similar sort of thing, but first I'm going to figure this out of exactly where I want this to go, and I'm going to mark it. Mark the edges of it. on the front and back. So I just want to make sure that I've got my space back here, and I think we're gonna go about there. So I'm gonna mark it there and about here too. This will all be covered up. You won't see it in the finished product, so no need to worry there. Looks like I am a little bit further out. This is probably, in some ways, the trickiest part. I look like it's funny because it looks even when I look here, but then when I come here, it looks like I've got more in the back, but that's okay. I think I'm gonna live with it. It's fine on that outside. So I've just then marked a couple of spots on the back too, top and bottom, so that when I come to glue this, I know where I'm stopping. So again, I'm leaving the space like I did with the pages back here. I just want to kind of check on these and make sure I haven't mucked anything up. Yeah, looking good. So I'm just gonna glue, I'm gonna glue down this line where I marked and down to my bottom. And again, I'm gonna leave half an inch or so on that edge and just glue inside this portion and bring my spine right on there. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing on my back, coming right down that line that I marked and across, and leaving about a half an inch or so over there, and then gluing in the middle. Okay, and then this guy is gonna come right around here like this. I think my marks were maybe a little bit too far over there. Actually, I'm just gonna kind of, yeah, that's fine, that's okay. All of that will be covered up. It's okay to have a little excess glue there. No problemo. I'm just gonna make sure that I've got this nice and adhered and straight and good. Same thing over here. And I've got my kind of space and squishiness there in the spine. And that is good. And now I don't want to put it down on this back because I've got some glue there. But the next step is going to be cutting the covers, which I'll show you how I'm going to mark these, but I am going to cut them off camera just because it's kind of a pain. Actually, this stuff is probably not so bad, but I'm going to do it with an X-Acto knife, so it can be a little bit of a pain. Just taking more than one kind of go through, so to speak. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to wipe this down as much as I can here, because I want to be able to put my paper, my cardboard down. So this is just kind of a thin, this is the same cardboard that I used for Alice, and it came out really nice. And I don't know where I got it. I saved it out of some kind of packaging, something that I ordered had it in it, and I'm gonna try to find, I don't know, it's just a very, very lightweight, but it's like sturdy enough to really make a great cover. So I'm gonna try to find the same kind of weighted stuff for future iterations of this type of journal. So firstly, I want my height to be this, well, okay. Natasha did hers with the height the same as the pages, But I actually think I might go this time, which is what I did on this one. Height is pretty close to the same. You can see it got a little bit taller on this one, but that's one of the things I don't really love is like, I don't like, if you're gonna have an edge on the outside, I'd like to have an equivalent edge on the top and bottom too. Although it does then make your cover slightly bigger than your pages, but, and I don't want it to be a lot, I don't think, but I do want a little. So I think I'm gonna go just a tiny bit, like 1/4 of an inch or less taller in my height. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark that based on the size here. And then it's up to you. You could also do just seam size and go right up against your edge there. I do kind of like that look of it just being over just a bit. And the other thing is that then my pages inside on the interior, if they're just a little bit sort of bigger than their outer covers, the cover kind of comes over it. It just gives it a nice kind of finished look. So I'm just gonna kind of look at where I want this, how much of the spine I want to come over. And then I'm going to mark that at just over the edge of my pages here as well. So that's my marking. Once I cut that, I'm gonna just use the one that I've cut as a template over here for the back. And once that's done, I'll come back and we'll get those guys covered up. Okay, I'm back and we're ready for this next step of this super fun journal. And if I'm honest, this is one of my favorite parts, covering the covers. So I've got my two, they're actually 5 by 8 and 11/16 each of my covers. And I have cut out from my Prima Marketing my piece. So basically all I did was lay these on here kind of where I thought I wanted it to go with what's going to be on the front, and then just gave it about an inch all the way around and triangled my corners. Okay, so they're ready to be folded up in around this, and I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and fold them before I actually glue, just so that I can kind of see and test out where I want, if I want to make any more cuts on those corners to get rid of some extra. Actually, let's do both the top and the bottom first here, and then it just makes them, the gluing, kind of easier because you're just putting it into place where you've kind of already got it settled in and around. And these are so fun to kind of just maneuver into place with these nice folds. So this is a good example where my corner here, I've got a little extra on my corner here. I think that's coming from this guy kind of folding out. Let's do this one too. And your interior here is going to get covered. Okay, so I'm gonna just give that a tiny, tiny little trim because I don't like that I don't want to get up in there, but I do want that to be straight. That's nice. That looks good. This one is also just a wee bit long. And then this guy is a bit weird, but that's because my corner is creasing a little bit and showing that way, but that's okay. I think that'll be okay and okay. And I'm just trying not to cut that right at the corner because I don't want to open up that space. And it's okay if they're a little overly pointy. I'll show you what we're gonna do about that after we glue. Okay, and then if you want, you can kind of cut these extra little guys out. The triangle guys, but sometimes if you do it weirdly, it's gonna open up a hole there. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and leave them on and glue this guy. I'm gonna do the top and the bottom. Actually, before I even do this, the first thing I'm gonna do is glue the middle. Because that will be better. Now that I know where it goes exactly. He's perfect. Okay. Just getting that guy in there, right exactly where he belongs, inside of all my folds. And I'm gonna just go back on the front real quick and do a little pull just to make sure that's laying nice and flat on that guy. And then I'm gonna do my top and bottom here. But I'm not gonna go to those triangles yet. I'll do that in a sec. These can be a little fussy. And I just usually try to give them a good couple of rounds just to make sure that they're super duper straight and flat, and the lion's share of this will not show, but you may get some, depending on what size you make your cover. If you made it to hang over the top and bottom of your pages at all, you're gonna potentially have some showage right at the top and bottom, and you will definitely have some showage on the outside edge if you made it to be bigger than your pages. Okay, now I'm gonna give this guy a little bit here and this guy a little bit here, and that's fine. And let's take this guy down too, because I don't think those are gonna stay. Actually, I'll just put a little over the top too, just because these guys can get a little bit fussy, and you just gotta, and I just like this stage a lot. I like to just make sure these are nice and flat. Find it kind of meditative. You can also take your bone folder along the edge just to make sure that edge is nice and dialed in there. Okay, and we'll do our last one. Also, nice and flat, please. nice and flat. And then we can just, if those corners are bothering you a little, we can just use this side of the bone folder to round them off a little bit. And I like that a lot. I feel like it gives it just a slightly nicer look. Yeah. And then this guy too. And that's gonna be my back, I believe. This guy, ooh, isn't that nice? Yes, I think that's really, really good. And I guess I did not do any inking on these covers, which is interesting because usually I really, really want to. And I'm so pleased with this journal. I don't know that it would have made it better. But this is the point at which if you want ink on your cover, this is the time to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and cover my cover also, and then I will be back and we will put them on our beautiful, beautiful text block. Okay, we've got both covers ready to go, front and back, and I did decide to give them some ink. You know what, I actually didn't do the backs, which I might want to do. And I decided to use the blue faded jeans. The outside will show a little bit. I don't know that the others really will, but we'll give it a little bit on these edges anyhow. And I have been fussing and fussing. I thought that these papers would be great for my covers. And actually, I'm having a hard time deciding. I think the back, I'm just gonna leave the way it is, but I wanted to add a little something more. This cover, this area, even though it has these kinds of music notes, music sheet bit there, it still feels a little empty to me. And then this kind of area a little bit too. I was thinking about adding a butterfly to it maybe here. And maybe this guy down here, but what I really want is some kind of like plate here. And I don't have, you know, what I really like is a rubber stamp that says just journal. That's simple but pretty and fun, and not just like standard typeface, but like something fun. And I haven't been able to find something like that. So I'm gonna figure out the rest of the details of my cover off camera later, and then maybe come back on to show you. But for now, let's put our covers on. And then we're gonna be basically done with this super cool journal that I just absolutely love. I know I'm gonna make a million more of this style. Okay, so let's put the back cover on first, just cause. So this is gonna go basically, I'm just kind of looking. I've got a little bit of extra on my top here, and I think I'm going to, well, I kind of like that little fuzz there. So maybe I'm just gonna leave that. And this guy is gonna go, yes, right about here. Right about here. I think I'm also not loving the muslin with these papers as much as I thought I would. Would have been nice if I had something that was kind of a soft blue. Okay, so I think this guy is gonna go just about like this. right? So we are gonna see edges on all three sides like that. So I think what I will do actually is I'm gonna glue in the middle. You know, I'm gonna leave a nice bit of room on the edge here and glue on the inside here. And then what I'll do is I'll do the edges of my paper and kind of that edge where I want to put it. And this is Fabri-Tac, so it should work fine with the fabric here. So we actually know for sure that we want it to the edge here. So let's do that all the way on that side. That's going to be the side that goes on the fabric. And so then let's go here, and that way we'll definitely get the edges. Okay. And then I'm just gonna put this guy on top. And check where I wanted that guy. Kind of even them out on the inside. Put a little bit of extra glue on some of my edges, and then I'm just gonna make sure that I press nicely on this side especially, so we don't get any kind of gap between those two. And we're just going. Okay? And then you might want to give it some time to dry like this. And just stack like a big book. Big book here and something here to keep these guys up so that that will dry nice and perfectly. But I'm gonna put my cover on first since we're here doing this. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I know that this is the fabric side, so I'm gonna go all the way to the edge over there, but I'm gonna leave space at the top and bottom on that outside because they're not all gonna get glue. And then we'll do the edges of our papers so that the edges definitely get done, but we don't have to worry about it. Here. Going all the way. I'm actually gonna go onto this guy too. Okay. So then this guy goes up top here. Just kind of gonna line them up with that back piece so that they're both kind of the same distance. From the pages, and that looks pretty good. Let's give that a go here. Just make sure it gets down on there nicely. And that's it. I will say, just having done this one a little taller with the cover, I do think I like when that height matches the, I don't like it inside. I don't like the way that looks, but I like the way the journal feels overall. When the top and bottom are aligned with the pages, this feels a little clunky when they're a little bit bigger. And I maybe could have made them even just a tiny bit I don't know. I think you still would have ended up with a weird inside. This looks nicer on the inside, but maybe feels a little bit more awkward on the outside. Still an absolutely beautiful journal style, and I love it. Super easy and fast too, in comparison to most other styles of making a journal. It doesn't have a closure, so if you're planning for this to be kind of big and bulky, what you could do is put a closure before you glue your covers on. Glue your closure in either just as two sections, one section here, one section here, or as wrapping around the whole thing so that you have kind of an outside that you see here, and then that would be underneath your cover, and that would be a really nice way. Either of those ways would be really nice ways to do a closure on these. So I think that's everything. I think I'm gonna wrap it up and not worry about trying to come back once I figure out this cover. If I do something to it, I'll put it in the thumbnail. You'll be able to see it there. And that is the super awesome 3 signature, I don't know, I've been calling it the Bendy spine or the flexible spine journal. And I just love this style. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.